Okay, hello again. I wanted to take a break from covering the games for my OTB tournament. I wanted to try and do a puzzle video. And while doing that, I wanted to show you how I do puzzles, why I think it's a good method of doing puzzles in general, and basically how to do them in a healthy way, in a way that's good and better for your chess than I think most people do. I think that it's very difficult to do puzzles online and not just press or make a move whatever seems like it's the most what is the most natural move in the position that you see. So we'll try to do some puzzles. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I think I have a pretty high puzzle rating for me, at least right now. First part, like there's a lot of advice that I can give about how to think about the puzzle in general, but one thing that I do really enjoy, I don't remember if chess.com has the same feature, but on Lichess you can actually make the puzzles easier by different ratings. You can have minus 600 ELO, like below your puzzle rating, not your actual rating, 300 points easier, your own rating, or harder. So basically normal means that the site is going to try to balance your puzzle rating with a 50% not accuracy, with a 50% success rate uh, as the final intention, which is good for games. Like in games, you can. It's way better to play against people who are your own level. They can challenge you, and they can make your play that much better because you're challenged and you play someone who can actually pose a threat to you. In puzzles, I don't think that's the case. Like you don't learn from your mistakes as much. I mean, as much as you want to really push yourself to your limit and succeed at the end of the day. Like you don't want to fail at 50% of the puzzles that you do. And basically what I'm saying is that I recommend, first of all, never using the harder filters, either normal if you're feeling like you're in good shape, or minus 300 points, the easier one. So why would I recommend the easier one? Because you now each puzzle that you do correctly is going to give you about 6, 7, 8 points to your benefit, and each puzzle that you fail is going to subtract like 30 points from you. Sounds like a bit of a bummer, but the rating is not what we're after here. We're after improvement and bettering our chess understanding. So if we fail a puzzle, basically what we're aiming for here is not a 50% success rate. We're aiming for consistency. We're aiming for success in quotes unquote easier tactics, even ones that are lower rated. We want to catch them every single time, which is why we go for a lower rating. It is still very difficult. So let's look at this one. 300 points lower than 2400. That's actually, it's a range. So this puzzle can still be like 2300 or 2200. So first thing that I usually do, I think it's John Bartholomew who actually taught me that, is to count the material. So 2 rooks on both sides, 1 knight on both for each player, for each color. We are playing as the white pieces. We see here 3 pawns and 3 pawns. The black queen is attacked, important to note. So right now black is just a single pawn, but the queen is attacked. So most obvious move on the board, we always try to go for those and realize like why should we do that or why shouldn't we? So just rook takes queen. I guess the threat is like some checkmate that might arrive, but I don't really see it. So like pawn captures, note that we don't want to go king to h1 because then that's just checkmate. I'm thinking about like rook takes queen, pawn takes f2 check, and king to f1. Can we keep our queen, like not sacrifice on f2? So pawn takes, check, king to f1, rook check, rook captures on e1, pawn captures, that's double check, king captures the queen on e1. Okay, that actually looks good for us, but what about rook takes queen, pawn takes on f2 check, king f1, and yeah, that looks devastating for us. So knight to e3, the king must go here to e2, and then knight takes c2, and black is threatening to promote, threatening the rook. It looks absolutely awful. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take the rook, and after black takes, we're going to take back. Just accept that we are going to gain a rook because black is going to have to capture our queen, which is defended. So we will take the rook. So we are not winning the queen, just the rook. Exactly what we expected, and we capture the rook. Let's see, there are no forks, just a bunch of checks that do nothing. There we go. So we only gained 3 points from that. That was a 2030 rated puzzle. A pretty easy one. But as we said, like, if you make a mistake in this puzzle, you don't want to get a puzzle that's the same level and maybe make a mistake again. You don't want to like stretch and test your focus on really long problems. You want to stay consistent through various levels of puzzles. Okay, second problem. Once again, material count, 2 rooks for each side, 1, 2, 3 pawns for white, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns for black, so up 2 pawns, and 1 piece for each side. Obviously the king safety is going to be a major issue here. The black king is on f7, x-rayed by these 2 rooks. Note that, like, right away, knight to e5, I don't see it really working. The g7 pawn is really well defended. So knight to e5, king here, and there are actually no checks. Knight to e5, like, it's very easy actually to cancel out lines. I'm sorry if you can hear the noise from the road. So there are many methods that aren't talked about because they power our intuition, but it's good to talk about them. So in puzzles and in real games as well, one of the key factors is that you don't really need to go deeply into a line if you see that one of the options is not forcing or isn't really that good for you. So if this is like a puzzle and you see, okay, knight to e5, king to e8, I have no checks, I don't see any fork, I don't see anything that's really that good for me, you can just discount the idea of knight e5. You don't need to check king to f8, you don't need to check king to g8, just discard that line. And on the other hand of that same token, you can think like, okay, if I see this and like king to f8 and I see that I have a mate in whatever, then I'm going to focus on that line much more. I'm going to test myself. So other discoveries with the knight, we can play knight takes f6, that's check, so the king must capture, and then I see that we can win the rook. So knight takes f6, check, king takes f6. I'm trying not to draw lines to practice both my calculation because lines do help us, like, it takes the mental load off of our brain and onto the board, like we see the moves happening. You shouldn't do that, you should just leave your mouse as is. It's a bad habit for me that I'm trying to get rid of. So knight takes f6, we take the bishop, the king must take, and then we can play rook to f7 and we win this undefended rook. Perfect. And the skewer and we win the rook, plus 4 points. So for third problem, we are up to a whopping 2415 puzzle rating. A lot of things happening here. So equal material, completely equal. This rook is defended twice. So interesting, it's attacking our queen, but this rook is undefended, so technically we can say that this knight is pinned. We might want to try that, like maybe either we capture the knight right away or we look at queen takes d3. So I think it's going to be rook takes knight, because yeah, I think so. So let me tell you what I calculated really quickly. So queen takes rook, we see knight takes rook, and then we take the rook on e8. We only gain 2 rooks for the queen, which is pretty much equal, but there's a strong attack on our king, and black, oh sorry, black has an extra pawn, but it's doubled. I didn't notice that at the first count. But in the other line, what draws me to it is that we should calculate really concretely, because it may seem scary that black is capturing our queen and is threatening to take the rook with check, but we get there first. So rook takes d2. Sorry, we begin. So knight takes rook takes knight, rook takes e5. If black just takes back, we can take the rook. It might seem like he's winning our queen. The rook is here, so rook to e1, but that doesn't work. We have knight to f1, and rook takes knight. If the rook takes our queen, we can take with check. King to g7. Now I'm just drawing arrows on purpose just to illustrate the calculation. And queen rook takes d2, sorry. And in that position, we do not leave black with the knight. Like previously, we had 2 rooks for the queen. Now we have 2 rooks and the knight for a queen, with black's knight. So rook takes e5. So I like these ones, but I also don't like the puzzles that leave you give you like an extra move to figure out. I never really don't like them. What I mean by I don't like them is basically that it's an indication that there's a really critical continuation that I've missed. So like if I missed this move in a game, it could be fatal for me. But I don't think it is right now. Like I think rook to e8 check solves my problems. If the rook captures my rook, then it's the same situation. We can capture on d3. Rook takes check, king to g7, and I think we can capture the rook on d8. And we are not afraid of losing the queen. The queen is just, we have enough material for the queen. So to e8, rook captures, and we can take on d3. The line continues. Knight to f1. We do not capture because that would dissuade the white rook from defending the queen. Notice that throughout this line, the queens are x-raying each other after we capture the rook. So knight to f1, queen captures queen. I had a feeling that would be the next move, and rook captures on d3. So that was really the most challenging line of the puzzle. Sometimes it's a bit of a bummer when you calculate a really long line and then you see that that Lichess doesn't really test you on that. It gives you like a light version, like a very early success note. One moment, I'll check how long the recording is. I don't want to overdo it, like make it too long. Okay, 13 minutes, that's not too bad. 24:20. I'm sorry for mentioning the rating again and again. You shouldn't like hyperfixate on your rating, but it is like a nice indication and a nice sort of reward for, feeling good about how much you've progressed and how consistent you really managed to be. So we like to see that. Once again, a very chaotic position, and now I think the material count is going to be really useful. We're down a piece and we're down a pawn. So in those kind of situations, you can tell that like I'm not going to just win a piece that's going to put me, I'm still going to be worse after I win a piece. So that's not enough. I'm either going after the black king or after like significant amounts of material. So we have really powerful rooks here on the e file, and I see that we are pinning the f pawn to the king. So right away, either knight to f4 or queen takes g5. Queen takes g5 might be difficult to spot for some of you. And I see that the king must go to f7. If the king goes to h7, we capture the rook with check. It's wonderful for us. We're already very happy. So queen takes g6, king to f2, and at that point I think we can just try to think about, well, can we take this rook and is that enough, or do we have something that's better? I don't think we do. Like, let's take a look at knight to f5, knight to f5 check. The king can go to either square, and I don't see a continuation in either line. Like king to h7, I don't see anything. The checks of the queen are covered by the knight. I just want to make sure, and once again, try to be consistent and not just go automatically for the most natural move. Like that's a very me thing to do. Like you should know, I also do that. I don't always manage to practice what I preach, but you should do that if you want to improve. So queen takes g5, king to f7, queen takes rook, and at that point we are up a clean exchange. We still have a lot of pressure on black's position. I think I'm going for that. I don't see like I also, by the way, look at various like checks and threats that black can make at the end of the line. That's very important in these high-level puzzles, and it's very important in your games as well. But know that black has no checks because our queen will be here covering the dark squares. So x to f7, queen takes. Nice. Let's look at the next one. We are black in this one. Quick material count, 2 bishops for 2 knights, that's equal, 2 rooks for both sides, 1 queen for each side. I see that on the king side we have 1 extra pawn and an open file, on the queen side we are down 2 pawns, so we're down 1 pawn in total. And we have an enormous attack. I actually kind of struggle with, I already see the theme of the puzzle and I see that it's what I am not always that good with, like evaluating these situations with discovery, with discover checks on the king, with various ways for white to block. Okay, so we are staring at the king, but note that this is not checkmate. The knight is defending the g2 square, and the knight on d4 is attacking our queen currently, so we can't like take here with the rook or something. So right away, most obvious move, bishop takes d4, rook takes d4. Is that something that white can do? Oh, bishop takes d4. This is a very chaotic position, very wild, so note that the rook is also attacked. Like his last move, white uncovered the white queen, attacking the rook. So bishop takes d4, white is not going to recapture, is going to take the rook and once again reinforce the defense of the g2 square, no more mates, and gain an exchange in the process. I think we might see queen takes g2. Let's calculate. So as well, like this is not a basics for puzzles. This is more for players who already know what they're doing, but maybe struggle to progress the rating and their tactical vision. So I'm not going to talk about the basics. The basics are, I'll just say in a sentence is like look first at checks, captures, and threats. Evaluate them very deeply. Don't just look at it for one move and be done with it. So we looked at the captures. I also looked at knight takes rook takes knight, rook takes f4. Don't see anything there. Obviously, rook takes f4. The knight can take our queen. Now I'm looking at the capture and the check. So queen takes g2. White must capture. Once again, by the way, that theme of when our opponent, not our opponent, but when the other side has very limited options, it's very easy to look at that line. So just go ahead and do it. No reason not to. And usually that's the solution. But I think that is actually the solution. So queen takes g2, knight takes g2, bishop takes g2, and we're going to drive the king to g1 to the discovery range. Note that we can't just move the bishop anywhere because the queen is still on the rook, the checking rook. Like if we, at that point, try to keep the position in your mind. Queen takes g2, knight takes g2, bishop takes g2 check, king to g1. Any bishop move will be discovery by the rook, but the rook is attacked. So if we move the bishop back to g7, back to b7, sorry, the rook can be captured. So takes g2, bishop takes g2, and you must play bishop to f3 to block the attack. We actually don't care about the queen, that's just checkmate. We just want to block the attack. Perfect. More an additional 4 points. Wonderful. So a defensive puzzle. Once again, not one that I'm very good with. Like I don't consider myself very strong. I do think that I'm strong in defending lost positions, but puzzles where you need to find a series of precise moves, I'm not very good with those. But that's just a better reason to try and really take them seriously. Note, by the way, that 24-33, if I get one of these wrong, I lose like 30 rating points. It's important to not get attached to your rating. Like, I don't mind, and I just got this back up from like 2100. The rating, I'm not attached to it personally, it's just an indication of your ability to get better. So we only have two rational moves, like queen to f2 is not a rational move. We can either take the bishop or play king to f1. So in this defensive puzzle, it's very simple to sometimes cancel out moves. You can choose a move by process of elimination. So we'll try to cancel out one of these. Like king to f1 seems way too dangerous for me. Queen to h1 check is coming. And then we see king to e2. Actually, not that bad. Or maybe king to f1, rook to f8 check, involving another piece in the attack. King to e2 once again. The rook is pinned. And then maybe rook here, rook to f4. Not really sure. I think I like this better, but let's take a look. So queen takes e3. Queen takes, like black's queen next turn takes on g4, takes the rook. And then I think we need to determine whether we have checkmate or whether we take the black rook and like try to evaluate does black have a perpetual. So queen takes e3, queen takes g4, knight takes e8, queen to d1 check, king can actually go to h2. Yeah, I think that looks good to me. Like the king has f2, h2, and both of them look okay. So yeah, just one final check. Okay, so I try to look at this, but yeah. Oh, actually I thought that the king can go here. Oh, I missed. But he can take the knight. Actually, apparently can take here too, I guess, with perpetual. Yeah. So it's lucky for me, I guess, that the problem didn't go on any longer. But anyways, just like I checked here whether I should take the rook or not, I would have done the same thing right here, like checking about king h2 and king f2 once again, just making sure. Okay, so I think the video has gone on for long enough. Thank you once again for watching. I'll try to keep these kind of as consistent as I can. Let me know if there's anything that you like, anything that you dislike that I can maybe fix. Just constructive criticism, please. Thank you for watching.